meeting for Darren Marshall.
Casey Rossi, the consulting engineer of the planning board.
Sandy Nelly, secretary for the planning board.
Jim Stenis, planning board member.
Manny Enriquez, planning board member.
Kim Jacobs, planning board member.
Carolyn Stevens, planning board chair. The first item on the agenda is Jennifer and Pascal Smith. 94 Summers Town Road.
Engineer for Jennifer and Pascal Smith Ruby, who are the applicants for this project. This project, just sort of do a review of it, just so you can understand what this project is about. I'll just sort of summarize it. So I'll just say first, we did have the pre-application meeting on December 18th. Very helpful, actually. And the project actually is Somerstown Road is north is up, gentlemen. Somerstown Road is here. This is actually the northern property line and the town of Newcastle, town of Austin line is on the northern property line. So the property is 6.45 acres in size. It's bounded by single-family homes on the east, south, west across Somerstown Road and across in the town of Newcastle as well. It's actually R40. All sides and 1 acre zone across in the town of Newcastle. There's an existing wetland on the property in the western portion of the site. The wetland itself was flagged by Mary Janig of Pfizer Janig Environmental Consulting. It was flagged in December of 2023 and was survey located. And that's the boundaries that are represented here. So it's proposed to subdivide the property in 6.457 acre property into 3 lots. We labeled lot number 1 in the northeastern portion of it, lot number 2 in the southern portion, and lot number 3 in the western portion of the northwestern portion of the property. I'll just say lot number 1 should be almost 2 acres in size. Lot number 2 is nearly 3 acres in size, and lot number 3 is about 1.5 acres in size. Access will be provided by a common driveway. The common driveway is located in the northern portion of the property. It's 18 feet in width within a 30-foot wide easement. It's been carefully selected, of course, to not impact the wetland. It does necessitate crossing through the wetland buffer line, which is shown here, this dashed line. But since it's the only way to get into this property is to impact the wetland buffer. The driveway itself is 674 feet in length, and it comes from the intersection within lot number 3 to the end of the driveway. Each of the 3 lots will obtain its potable water from an on-site well. The potential well sites on each of the properties. Here, there, over here, and actually we treat wastewater in its own on-site system as well. I'll just say that we have done all the testing for the septic systems That is the depot testing and the percolation testing. The depot testing was witnessed by the Westchester County Department of Health. So the application was already made and we conducted the work for the percolation testing. So that's all done. So basically we're in the process of putting together the applications of this. We said there's a wetland located in the western portion of the property, and because all of the entire frontage is within the 100-foot wetland buffer, the only way to access it would necessitate having to cross through the wetland buffer. We calculated it would impact approximately, I said it in my letter, 8,250 square feet. And I actually think the updated number is around 7,000 square feet. I came up with 7,122 square feet of actual wetland buffer disturbance. And also, the site plan was very carefully designed to minimize impact of steep slopes. I'll show you the slope. Run through this. This is just the general layout plan. This is plan for the property showing the grading within the common driveway, which we also profiled. We showed the potential stormwater management areas, which we're in the process of designing. And we show actually the full layout of each of the septic systems, the location of wells. I want to show you that. So there are areas that show up in white, actually less than 15% slopes, 25% slope in the yellow. 25 to 35% slope, kind of like the orange colors here, and the greater than 35% slope or the sort of darker orange colors over here. I'll just say the site plan was really designed to minimize as much as possible impacts to these slopes. I just want to also show you, because I know it was a question that came up from the planner memo. No, we did not submit this plan, but I want to show you this. Initially, we carefully designed the lots knowing that 25% is the maximum for wetlands and extreme steep slopes on any particular lot. So in reviewing that, this drawing just shows the extreme steep slopes area in this orangey color. And the wetland areas, of course, are located here. We've calculated them out. And this particular steep slope area is about 9,250 square feet in size. And that certainly would qualify for inclusion in the steep slope regulation. This one's only 2,130 square feet because that's under 4,560 square feet. It would not be regulated as such. There are other steep slope areas here, but these are also too small on lot number 3, which has very minimal steep slope areas, extreme steep slope areas. Lot number 2, which has this area, which is 4,023 square feet, also is under the threshold of 4,360, 43,556, a tenth of an acre. So is this. So at any rate, I'm just pointing out that Because I know the question came up about compliance with,
Right, you'll need to
Section-
resubmit.
I understand, I'm gonna resubmit it, but I just want to point it out. That we did do a calculation with regard to it, and for lot one area, it was 7%. For lot two, it was 23.5%. And lot number three, it was 11.3%. I know it'll have to be submitted. But I just wanted to point that out. Looks like also. Submit a list of trees that would be removed. from the property. There were a total of 140 trees which are proposed to be removed. We pointed out in a letter to the board that the total aggregate diameter in caliper inches of trees to be removed is 1,794 caliper inches. Number two, this is a wooded site. You know, so anything you do on this property is going to result in trees. But there were a total of 140 trees that are proposed to be removed. This amendment landscape plan as well. This landscape plan includes tree plantings along the graded areas of the driveway, some plans for screening between the driveway and back of lot number three, some screening between the lot number two and lot number one, and also screening to the neighbor to the south as well. And we have a plat list table as well, and it shows that we actually be planting 152 trees total. But I'll just say if you take 152 trees and a 2-inch caliper, it ends up being about 304 caliper inches. And accordingly, we would have to be at 50% of the caliper inches to meet the town requirement. So we're actually well below that. We're about 16.9. With that being said, we're actually planting more trees than we're removing. So I think that is something to at least take note of. I think that's that. Just briefly go over some of the, if I might, the comments from Ms. Manaska's memo. If I can just take a brief moment on that.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that, like, you're gonna have to resubmit.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
No, absolutely. No. For example, that slope map, you haven't had a chance to review it. I understand that, right? But I just wanted to be able to come here, at least let the board know that we were cognizant of it. And we had designed it initially to make sure it was compliant. I believe it is compliant, but we'll resubmit it and let's assess that. So, as I said, with regard to, no secret, that's my standard procedure. I'm hoping that the planning board this night will be able to circulate a notice of intent to be lead agency. And just said, I'll actually submit that drawing, the C-108 drawing, but I believe that we've shown that the wetlands and extreme steep slopes on lot number one is 7%, lot two, 23.5%, lot three, 11.3%, 25% is the limit on each lot. So we believe each lot will comply with that requirement. With regard to wetland permit, we'll supply the supplemental information. I don't know if we actually submitted, I think, can't remember if we actually submitted the report done by Mary Coleman.
I didn't see it.
Okay, perhaps not, but I'll make sure. And I think we'll provide some supplemental information with regard to tree removals and the total caliper inches of trees to be removed. But as I said, we actually included in the letter the number of caliper inches of what was to be removed on the property. Just so you know, we did contact the New York State DEC with regard to whether or not they're going to have jurisdiction over the wetland in the western portion of the property. And basically that application's been made, and I'll see when the DEC gets back to us, but they said this email confirms you have successfully submitted a request for for a freshwater wetlands jurisdictional determination of your project. So that's what they said.
Yeah.
That's new. That's something that just came up in this month.
That's correct.
So it's, and just so you know, I also submitted for the State Historic Preservation Office and have that application as well. That is also pending. So those items will hopefully be responded to in a efficient manner by the state of New York. And with that, I'll be more than happy to pass it on to you. So if you have any comments or questions.
Thank you.
I think you went through most of my comments in the memo. So it's just, at this point, we're just trying to get the application. I'm gonna say, I mean, there's a lot of information that they've already provided, which is why, you know, they said up to the agenda tonight, but just trying to get that application as soon as possible. And then ultimately it's going to get referred to the EAC, but I know the EAC is gonna wanna see the wetland report. They're gonna wanna make sure they have all the information that they have for trees. So, because they're gonna need to opine for both the tree permit, the wetlands permit, and I believe even steep slopes. So,
Yeah, there's a steep slope.
right, so for all three of those, to get the applications to be possible so that their review can be done hopefully within one meeting and not necessarily the last.
Does anybody here have a question?
I just had a question about what's behind this property in developing this. Is there a landlocked lot behind this property through which that may need access to a road? I know it's near Tavano and it's near Barnes, but I just didn't have a complete subdivision map and I wasn't sure if we would miss an opportunity to provide access to an interior lot.
I don't know the answer to that question. Something I'll have to look at and see what those are the neighbor. The ones that behind this, the ones that are south, the ones also to the east. So the neighbor, this neighbor also owns this one.
We're the farmer.
Don't say it is. So take a look at that, but
I just don't want to have this island
No.
with no access.
the neighbor to the south obviously has access from Silver Street.
Well, right now, there's no access off that entire parcel, right? It's all trees.
There's-
Correct.
Right, so,
I just
it
didn't know
wouldn't
if
be changing an existing.
he needed to ask for an easement so somebody behind them could get to the street or.
That might be a little bit beyond the planning board's purview.
You mentioned C-108, you were still going to submit.
Yeah, that's a
Okay.
slope drawing that really I saw the plan in the memo. So I thought, and as I said, I was quite cognizant when we were designing these lots, but I'll just say I didn't manage to submit it. So I will submit that drawing with the calculations on it so that you can review it and to make your determination as to the compliance of the lot. But, you know, I looked at it from the point of view that each of those slope categories has a certain size threshold. And there were steep slope areas which were well below that threshold. So certainly on lot number 2 and, lot number 1, they were just below the threshold. But there was this steep slope area here, which definitely is within it, but it's, we even adding up all this wetland area and the steep slope area here, the lot is sufficiently sized so that it was still below the threshold. But I have to obviously submit all that information.
Thank you.
Just a couple of quick comments.
Sure. go ahead.
On the driveway, have you been in touch with the fire department?
No, it is something that I know we discussed at our pre-application meeting, pre-submission meeting. I have not yet had contact with them. That's something that we should do.
Yeah, we just want to make sure that,
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that the driveway, can pull over, whatever, that's
Right.
considered in the application. Obviously, we're going to get a stormwater plan, that'll have to evolve and I guess sort of related to that is the intention, to do all this via sort of a common driveway easement agreement that would also include stormwater practices that are common, which I guess is the one down by the bottom of the driveway.
Yeah, that's something we'll have to work out as to how that's going to work. Obviously,
Yeah, I mean, the ones with the lots, obviously, the responsibility of the owners, but
I suspect the ones that are adjacent to the street would probably more of a collection because they're all going to be pertaining to the common driveway. So, yes, we'll have to order some type of easement agreement so that for maintenance and maintenance purposes.
Likewise, any of the stuff that will have to be a common responsibility, the plan will reflect the requisite easement.
Could it be an HOA? I don't know if easements in and of itself is gonna provide for common maintenance of the driveway.
I mean, common driveway agreements are a little dicey sometimes depending
Yeah.
on the relationship between the parties.
I've seen both actually, where sometimes it's not a homeowner association, it's just you buy the lot, you sign the agreement that you're going to be.
I think what we would probably want is for the declaration or the agreement to be in place and recorded before the lots start getting sold off, so we don't have to start going after individual property owners who may not want to, the lot at the bottom, lot two. They may not feel that it's not their property, but they're using it to get access, so I think it would be better to have that all in place before the lots are sold. If that makes sense.
And speaking of easement, I don't know if this board would be interested in having them do like a conservation easement, in, like the wetland area. Or some other area that you might want to consider that.
Although, I mean, obviously it could be that way, but obviously if there was any disturbance within that area.
Right, which is why to prevent any disturbance, they
Or future subdivision.
I don't think future subdivision would really happen.
So then there wouldn't be a concern to, let's put that in writing.
The planning board's heard that before,
Yeah.
and 10 years, 15 years later,
Yeah,
people
that,
come back.
Yeah, I understand. I just think with the overall layout, and strengths of this lot, and pushing around.
I agree, but let's make it rock solid.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the space between the driveway and the property line to the north, is that enough space, vegetative buffer to allow for the plantings once they become mature?
It actually is, there's probably at least, generally it's about 10 feet or so, 10, 12 feet or so, varies along there. I mean, I could include that inside the home.
I mean, if we could allow for a little bit more space so that it doesn't interfere, whatever trees you're planting, the root system doesn't interfere with the driveway, it doesn't interfere with the property line crossing over.
Well, we could take a look.
Thanks.
You're saying basically to try to look at the driveway.
I wouldn't suggest changing the curb cut, but if we could adjust the dimension between the property line and the driveway itself, so that we've got a little bit more of a vegetative buffer.
Yeah, I mean, practically, right now, you don't have, 10 feet between the items, so you're right, this is 22 feet right now,
Right.
and this road is probably, what, 10 feet, so, no, it's tight,
It's 18 feet.
18 feet, so yeah. Definitely don't have 10 feet.
Is there a number that the board might feel comfortable with?
Well, what are you suggesting be planted along there?
I was gonna say, Tom's gonna get into that next month.
Oh, usually the 120.
Right. Yeah, so they have, right, so they do have a tree removal plan, and I think that's something that you might want to, but if we're just trying to get a sense, just from this month, whether that landscape is kind of set, you know what I
Right.
mean? And because there is gonna be a big deficit between what's coming down and what's coming in.
Yeah.
That was actually the true removal.
So, but what, you said had some species already designated to replace what you were planning on putting in along that border. So we have an idea of what.
Well, in general, what's shown there,
Yeah.
things like, red maple. Red maple. Red oak, and actually red maple along there. So they really are street trees.
Okay.
And actually, those trees are, there's a reason why they're there, is those trees are well regarded to be able to withstand any sort of driveway de-icing.
Yeah.
Roadway de-icing.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
they're well adapted for that situation. Be quite successful along there. And that's basically what's being proposed. You know,
Along both sides of the driveway.
yeah. The idea is to restore that sort of woodsy look without being, in a very naturalistic way, not to have like trees like
Yeah.
planted at even intervals. I
Right.
mean, trying to be pretty precise.
Right, I mean, the other board member that's not here tonight, I think she'll probably have some thoughts.
But we can certainly take a look at trying to increase the distance, if you will, between the edge of this driveway and the.
Even, yeah, it's oaks, it's pretty big.
Yeah.
And sort of maples actually, so, yeah.
Your driveway, is that a paved, impervious driveway?
Yeah, so we okay. Reason it really is the best situation for that situation, because of some of the slopes that wants to traverse the
And I think the other thing is the retaining walls or whatever else you're gonna have to put into the driveway. I think that is important to that. Because that's gonna also affect.
Right. Actually, it was done in such a way that, to say, from a grading perspective, there were no retaining walls that were needed for the construction around the driveway. There were one retaining wall pertaining to lot number 2, in order to make that grade change into there. That was it. Wilton. Actually, the grading plan. Here it's actually fairly close to being on grade. That's where it becomes steep. And probably there's no retaining wall there. It's probably the location where probably put down like an erosion control mat and be able to make sure we can stabilize them. But that's it. Afterwards, it's really it's just You know, and I'll say probably erosion control mat along there as well. That would be it, but this is entirely wooded. You know, this portion of the property. So, there's no, the plan was not to put a retaining wall there, but to create a, slope and stabilize.
What is the slope?
Here, the maximum I think I end up with here is probably 1 on 1, which is why, it have to become, has to be a stabilized slope.
Right, well, I mean, that's something you want to, when we talk to the fire department, right, because the heaviness of the trucks.
I'm more concerned about, how they'll want to service a fire and whether they'll want a place where they'll pull over.
Right.
So one truck could pass another.
Right, but it has to be also structurally stable.
The way
And
it
protection of the truck that goes and stuff.
Right.
It is fairly scopes, there.
Yeah, actually, the steep slope portion is really here. After that, it actually flattens out.
Well, no, I'm saying like off the edge of pavement, looks like
Correct.
they're dropping like 16 feet.
Right. Generally, what I tried to do in designing this was an 18-foot wide paved drive, then have like a 3-foot shoulder, and that's where the slope is. That's generally how it was done. So in essence, it's like almost, 18 plus another 6. So it's almost like 24 feet. I understand it's landscape, but, it'd probably be lawn or, trees wouldn't be necessarily, trees would be planted in a 3-foot strip. But that's kind of like the idea of it, so that there is some room. But that's why it's also 18 feet, because generally for maneuverability, if a vehicle is coming one way and a fire truck's coming another way, 18 feet is plenty of room to do that.
No, more like the fire department,
Correct.
As far as the tree location, is it gonna be beyond the curb from the driveway? I mean, is that going to be impervious beyond the 18 feet?
No, it would not be impervious beyond that. The idea is to have it be a natural, relatively level area, because it just works out better for just aesthetics, for stability of the road, and also if there is a need for passing, but an 18-foot wide common driveway is plenty of room for 2 vehicles to pass each other. It's fairly wide. There's only 3 houses, so considering the fact that driveway for lot number 3 is really close to 100 feet or so. Really only talking 2 houses which would access most of this driveway. Reason the septic systems would have to, sorry. It's just, soils are shallow here. Actually, very good soils along this whole strip. That's right now, we really have,
You know what you have to do.
right, there's obviously, submit all the supplemental information, provide a letter that responds to all the comments, the planners memo. And obviously, there's the stormwater situation and stormwater management plan that has to be developed. Well, we have to contact fire marshal, well, and hopefully we'll hear back from DEC and something, but one never knows with them, but at least I've reached out.
Okay.
The sooner you can get, all the supplemental information, the sooner it can be sent off to the EAC.
The supplemental information regarding wetlands. or just-
The Valerie's memo,
Right, correct.
anything that's gonna require referral to
Yeah.
the environmental advisory.
Yeah, so we,
But that'll be,
wetlands, the steep slope and the trees.
right, so it's basically all the permits.
Right.
Especially the DBH, we'll need that.
Mhm.
Right. Well, that plan, there was an entire sheet which identified all the trees, that was all from the survey.
Right.
And each one of the trees to be removed, we marked for the next. There's an entire sheet which gives the breakdown for each lot plus the,
Right,
plus some of these.
take a look at the tree wall again, because there's certain exemptions. Yeah. And then, and just make sure you're comfortable with the landscaping plan
Right.
as you're proposing it. Mostly because, you know, then you would have to pay in lieu of, which could be expensive.
I mean, I did exclude the trees that are there were a number of trees that were listed as 4 inches diameter, which are obviously not a regulated tree. So, just a handful. I wouldn't cite on it.
Yeah. Thank you. So I look forward to you submitting this with your information.
Notice of intent. Notice of intent.
When will the next meeting be?
That's on, when you can get your information.
Okay.
For our next meeting date. Yeah, February 19th, and then after that, March 19th.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah.
okay. Engage.
The fire intent.
Okay. Motion for there to be lead agency for,
Planning board,
not the planning board to be lead agency for
intent to be like.
intent to be lead.
For the pre-lot subdivision, 94 Summertown Road.
For the final motion for the planning board to be the lead agency for the 94 Summertown Road subdivision. Okay.
Okay, Dan, have you vote?
Yes.
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 I vote yes as well. Thank you.
And you're both out, so.
I was not,
It might be better to wait. for the
Okay,
meeting when
yeah,
Don's here.
because we don't have enough people
Yeah.
to approve.
Because I think Danny was out.
Yeah.
Aaron. Okay, all right, we are.
Next meeting.
Yeah,
Now or?
Yeah,
We can talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Motion to adjourn?
Okay, Jim, can you vote?
Yes.
Yes.
I know yes as well, ladies and gentlemen.
Have a good night.